Rebel Militia Crew. We are live in the building. Man, it's a great day to be a Raider, right? Fernando Mendoza on the mic in the stadium for the first time. We got to see Traden Stoogs. We got to see Crawford, right? There's all kinds of videos going around, man. Go out there and check them out. Jesse Merrick, Levi Edwards, my guy Vegas Sports Today. Y'all go check him out. All these dudes got videos out. You can watch, a bunch of highlights. But oh man, are we blessed or what? Fernando Mendoza under center today, rolling out, making throws. Looked like the man's done it his whole life, right? A lot of talk about, oh, it's gonna take him a long time to learn how to roll out, right? He has the speed. He was way faster than I thought. Looked way better. And I'm absolutely impressed with this young man. Says all the right things. Doesn't want to go to the White House because he wants to be with his teammates, on OTAs, May 11th. Who is this kid, dude? Where do we find this dude at? Where do we find this dude? I don't know how we got so lucky. And I don't know how anybody in Raider Nation could say anything bad about this young man or have hate like we have for other quarterbacks in the past. Everybody should be on board with this kid. This kid is the future, and he might be the present. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how much future we're going to have to wait, because if he continues to look like this, and I know I don't want to hear all the hate about, oh, well, he's got nobody coming at him, right? It's one-on-one throws. Yes, I get it. But the fact that he looks so good, the fact that he's so fluent, the fact that it doesn't look like a problem. There was no botch snaps, right? There was no drop snaps, right? The kid rolls out, looks very, very good doing it. And I was impressed all the way around. You see Levi Edwards posted, showing the defensive back drills. The defensive back coach, every single time somebody went, right, he's saying, like, do this, do that, right? This is why I want you to do this. They're teaching these young kids, right? They're not young men, sorry. They're teaching these guys. They're not just throwing them out there and running drills, like, the same drills over and over again, endless amount of drills. They're teaching these young men how to do the drills. They're explaining to them why. Trey Zune, however you say it. I think it's Zune. I'm going to get it right. But Trey Zune, when he talked today, he was asked about the coaches. He said, man, I love these coaches, right? I've never seen, these guys they're on it. They tell you what they want, and you're going to do it till they get it right, right? They're very, very in-depth with everything they're doing. So, man, the future is bright, right? It's screaming, go Raiders right now. And I'm trying to keep my cool, right? I'm trying not to, get my hopes up, be all anxious with the future. But damn it, I just can't help myself. I can't help myself. 50 years of misery, of pain, of horrible draft picks, of bad drafts all the way around, bad draft years, bad free agency. And we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to tell you why. I feel like the Las Vegas Raiders are going to surprise a lot of people. There's been many teams in the NFL that have turned it around the first year. So I went back and I did a little homework, right? A little bit of history. And we're going to break it down. So shout out to everybody in the building. Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you, Victoria Houston. Love you as well. What's up with you? What's up? My guy Sullivan in the building. Candy Angel, what's good? What's good? I appreciate all of y'all. Grim, first one. My guy, always the first one in the building. Man, one of these days I'm gonna send you something. What do we got? Sports are a distraction. Jesus died for your sins, so you may repent and get right with God. Maybe sports is a distraction from the horrible things that are going on in the world, in the news 24/7, right? Some people need a distraction or a break from all the things they're dealing with in life. So don't hate on sports, bro. Don't hate on sports. Jesus loves the Raiders. It's okay. It's okay, man. But yeah, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna tell you why. So, throughout history, right? Data shows that new head coaches improve their team's record. Anybody want to take a guess by how much? Hello, what's up? What's up? Hello, hello. Anybody want to take a guess on how much new head coaches improve teams' records? The correct answer is 63%. That's a lot. Now, if you look at our last coaches, we didn't get that, right? We didn't get that. But history shows, again, that you don't stay at the bottom forever and eventually you got to get it right. And I feel like MD has got it right with Spytek, Brady in the building, and Clint Kubiak, man. Clint Kubiak, right? You hear nothing about how detail oriented it's been in the last two practices, how they are with the playbook, how they are at talking to these guys. They've drafted character for a reason, and all these guys have high character, especially guys like, Tanner Wall, another guy, right? BYU guy, a guy that's been on missions, in Africa, mentoring children. Like they're drafting men that are, in still young men's bodies, right? These dudes are grown men. They have high character. I feel like almost everybody they drafted and a bunch of guys they brought in at UDFAs were captains, right? They were captains on their team. They were guys that were respected, that were hard workers, that love football, that love their teammates. Like Spytek has been preaching over and over and over and over again in every damn interview. But anyways, new coaches improve their team's record by 63% of the time, often due to taking over teams that had nowhere to go but up, right? Well, guess what? The Las Vegas Raiders are kind of one of those teams that have nowhere to go but up. I mean, we've been 3-14, we've been 2-15. It's 2-14, whatever it was ridiculous. Anyways, but throughout history, right? There have been saviors. In 2006, the New Orleans Saints. I don't know why y'all leaving. Y'all should listen to this if you're down with football. This is good history. American football, bro? I feel like men tackling each other. Football is better. What? What is regular football? You mean soccer? They tackle each other too. They just get penalties for it. Anyways, the New Orleans Saints in 2006, they had a record in 2020 and 2005 of 3-13. Sound familiar? Sounds very familiar to me, right? Very familiar to me. That's been on record pretty much the last 2 years. Except for when, we had a fourth string quarterback that came in and but anyways, we're gonna get to that. But in 2006, the New Orleans Saints, they hired a guy who's a division rival now with the Broncos, Sean Payton. They went from 3-13 to the following year, 10-6. 10-6 with Drew Brees. But wait, hold up. Let me tell you exactly who was on that team. I have it somewhere. I don't have it. Anyways, we know damn well it was Drew Brees was on that team. A lot of other people on that team. I don't know why it cut me off there. But anyways, you bring in a good head coach. You bring in a head coach that has a system. And I do believe he was a new head coach at the time, right? But he comes in and he takes a team that's 3-13. He changes the culture. He gets people to believe in. He's detail oriented. They're teaching these guys. They're taking time to, answer their questions, show them why they want what they want done and why they want it, how they want it, right? There's a reason for why they're doing what they're doing. And there's a reason why Seattle went from, almost being a fringe playoff team with Geno Smith to winning the Super Bowl the next year with our coach, Clint Kubiak, as their offensive coordinator. He came in and changed the offensive culture. People bought in. They believed. And, he also had a guy like Gray Zabel that was drafted to Seattle that ended up starting guard all season and won a Super Bowl. So you bring in guys, you change the culture. It makes a big difference, right? The next example, in 2007, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had a great coach who still, talks football on NFL networks. I don't know which one, but anyways, Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher was the Steelers coach. He decided to retire. They were 8-8 in 2006. They bring in Mike Tomlin, a first-time head coach, right? A guy that was a linebacker coach, kind of like our guy AP, which this is how I thought it was going to go. But there are people above that have agendas, and I think their agenda was to get where we are now, right? Have Clint Kubiak as the coach, have Spytek as the GM, and clean house like they are doing now. If you don't know, the Raiders have released Charles Snowden, Clendis McCurdy, the guy Lato from I want to say Ole Miss. I don't know where he's from, but the tight end and somebody else. Anyways, they released four guys, all guys from other regimes, and they brought in four new guys. I'll get to it in a minute and let you know exactly who they were. But what I'm saying is, a first-time head coach who has never done this before, Raider Ryan, was good. Yeah, Snowden's gone. Which I thought after the DUI and the Henry Ruggs deal that they would have tried to save face for the organization and move on from that instantly, but they let it drag out. Was good. So yeah, in 2006 it was Sean Payton. They went from 3-13 to 10-6. In 2007, the Pittsburgh Steelers first time head coach Mike Tomlin, again first time head coach, was 8-8. In 2007, they finished 10-6. He changed the culture, right? He went and got Ben. They got Ben Roethlisberger. They had Mr. Brown over there. I won't say his name completely. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Um, and then in 2008, another first time head coach, right? Special teams guy. The Baltimore Ravens bring in John Harbaugh. The Baltimore Ravens in 2007 were 5-11. 5-11. They go from 5-11 in 2007 with a first-time head coach in John Harbaugh. Sound familiar? Right? Kind of sounds like the Raiders. To go from 5-11 to 11-5 in 2008. 1 year. 1 year. Now, what did Baltimore do to turn that around? Well, I do not have that either. Hold on. What the hell happened? All right. This is bullshit. All right, I think I have the next ones. Anyways, they brought a bunch of players, right? They changed the culture. They got all these young rookie draft picks. They hit on the draft. They brought in new guys in free agency. They got rid of the guys that were, just felt like they were comfortable and had jobs in the NFL, right? Stands for not for long. You can't get like that. So they got rid of, I don't want to say, the riffraff, but guys that didn't fit their new scheme with John Harbaugh, and they went a different direction, a direction that was a 5-11 team, ended up 11-5. Faded Raider, appreciate you in the building. Um, that's a pretty big jump, right? That's a pretty big jump. 5-11 to 11-5. In 2008, the Miami Dolphins hired Tony Sparano. The Dolphins in 2007 were 1-15. That's right, 1-15. The following year, in 2008, they were 11-5. 11-5. What did the Dolphins do? See if I can get this right this time. What did the Dolphins do to turn it around? Well, they drafted Chad Pennington, I do believe, in the first round. They had running back Ronnie Brown. They had Joey Porter, defensive end. Why does that seem like Jake Long and cornerback Will Allen? For some reason, that sounds like the Pittsburgh Steelers roster to me. I hope these didn't run on. Um, but anyways, they got a new rookie quarterback. They got a new head coach, and they changed the culture. and they go from 1-15 to 11-5, making a playoff in 2008. Then in 2009, the Philadelphia Eagles, they hire some guy named Andy Reid, another another division foe, right? Division rivalry. So they hired this guy named Andy Reid, you know, kind of the talk around football. I do believe this was his, I want to say his first head coaching job. I'll have to look that up. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, the Philadelphia Eagles bring in Andy Reid. They improved from um, they improved to 11-5 after a 9-6-1 um, season, which was a quick turnaround. What did the Philadelphia Eagles do? That is not right either. All right, I'm not gonna do this anymore. But yeah, so the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe, Randall Cunningham. I want to say, I'm trying to just go off the top of my head. But anyways, Greg Lear, what's good, man? Um, Raider Ryan says, I like the press conference and what our rookies had to say, especially Trey Zune. Facts, facts. I loved his energy. You know, he loves the coaches. He had a lot to say about the coaches that was very nice. And he sounds like a dude that wants a spot, right? That wants a spot on this roster. And I think some people's jobs are in jeopardy. We've talked about it many times who I believe those guys are. If you don't know, go back and watch the last 15 lives. We bring it up all the time. Um, but yeah, so especially like Trey Zune, when he was asked about how confident he was in versatility of all five positions of offensive line, he said, no doubt, 100%, yes, confident that he can play all five positions, which tells me that, you know, he's going to be competing for a guard spot. But I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, you know, when they was drafted him. If you're telling me that Trey Zune is competing for a right tackle spot to push DJ Glaze, I'm 100% with that. But if he beats out, you know, somebody on the left side, because he did play a whole lot of left tackle, if they move him to left guard, I think it would be less of a transition than trying to move him to right guard, right? I believe he has more play time on the left side. Keep him on the left side. But you know who that pushes out? That pushes JPJ to the right side, battling with Caleb Rogers. And I believe Caleb Rogers wins that battle just because he stays healthy. You know, bigger upside, less injury history, right? And we all know availability is the best ability. What's your point of view on Gridiron Apex? I dislike his content creator being real. Um, I think he's very, very knowledgeable of football. I mean, I think he's a cool dude. Uh, I don't know why. Why don't you like him? Oh, wait, I know why. I've seen his post on X. Man, I appreciate you coming in here, but I seen how he blasted you on YouTube and blasted you on X, and that shit's not cool, man. When you start talking about, you know, people's race and shit like that, that shit don't fly in any of these chats, and definitely don't fly in mine. So if you have a problem with Gridiron Apex, take that up with Gridiron Apex. You know what I mean? But don't come in here and try to, you know, draw a wedge between us because I respect what he does. Hopefully he respects what I do. If not, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I respect his content. I respect what he does over there. He does charity shit. You know, he helps high school kids. I think he's a damn good dude. So I mean, I don't know what your problem with his is or how that beef started, but please don't try to drag me into that shit. Hit those thumbs up. I think he was BS with Raiders and Cowboys fans. I mean, if that's his, you know, if he thinks we got a C grade, then, you know, he thinks we got a C grade. I disagree with it 100%, but, you know, that's his opinion. You can't talk about people's race or other people in the chat's race. Like, that's just nonsense. So, nonsense. So, yeah. Please don't do that shit, right? And if you have beef with them, that's cool, but, you know, I don't want to talk about it in here. Y'all have to work that out and figure it out between amongst yourselves. But yeah, I respect him for everything he does. So, um, I don't always agree with him, but doesn't mean I don't respect what he does. Yeah, JPJ is a wild card with his health. I mean, he definitely is. He definitely is a wild card. And I hope to God, for the Raiders' sake, that he could stay healthy and could be that guy because we need that physicality. We need that old school Raider mentality, and I think Trey Zune brings that. Caleb Rogers is more of a little quiet, humble, cerebral assassin type. He just lets his work show on the grass, and I love that as well. And they released two guards, which tells me the guards are dropping fast, and I think they already know who their offensive line is going to be. Um, However, if he can't stay healthy, yeah, it's not good for him. Definitely not good for him. I don't feel. Raiders fan, 53 years. I only seen one way for us, and that's up 14-3, baby. Let's go, Jeffrey Walker. Preach that truth talk. That's what we do on here. That's what we try to do on this channel. We try to preach truth. Some people don't buy in or believe the truth, but like I said, everybody has their own beliefs. I don't even have an X at all. Yeah, man. He just posted. He posted your comments on there and let everybody know who you were and that you went Raider chats, shit like that. So if you don't have an X account, now you know. And I think you made a video on YouTube too. I'm not sure, but Jeffrey Walker, I like your positive thinking, right? Right? Jeffrey Walker is my new favorite member in the chat. Shout out to my guy, 53 years. I'm going on 51. I'm 51 going on 52 years. So yeah, we're up there about the same timeline. So yes, I love the positivity. We don't get a lot of that in here, right? Get a lot of people hating, saying I'm crazy. This team's never going to be good. No players that I like are good, right? The team's garbage. They're always going to be garbage, and most of them are Raider fans. So, um, plus Greg, not even my real name. I don't know. He just put yeah. I mean, it says Greg Lira, whatever. That's what it was. I don't know. But anyways, shout out for the $2 holler. Raiders. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. Raider Ryan, 12 months, 1 year. Let's go, my guy. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. That means the world, man. That means the world that you're still rocking with me. Got some videos coming out for the members, right? We're gonna do a members live, but when I only have like 3 or 4 members, it's kind of hard to do member live. So maybe we'll just put some out and for the couple I got, because I appreciate the hell out of y'all. But I might be doing a live by myself if I do a members live only. So we'll switch some of those, but definitely got videos coming. Definitely got videos. I care about less than his negative option about our Raiders. Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, you guys can disagree to disagree. I'm just saying there don't have to be hate involved. You know what I mean? Like everybody's just out here just giving their own opinion, right? Doing their thing, and we just don't have to have hate involved or bring up race just because you don't agree with somebody's opinion, right? That's just my take. That's just my take. 1 year Raider Ryan, right? I need to send him a T-shirt. What else do you follow me on, Raider Ryan? I need you to send you a Raiders Unleashed shirt, my brother. So I need to get a hold of you somehow. Um, for sure. Understand why people unfollow him. Chewy, my guy, what's good? What's good? I don't know. Maybe they feel like you do. I don't know. Like, I still follow him. I follow him on X. I follow him on Instagram. I don't even know if he follows me back, but I do. So, uh, yeah, I think he's an all right dude, man. I think he is. You remember the LA Raiders then? Of course. That's of course, man. I became a Raider fan. Like, I mean, started watching, every time I could, or basically listening to on the radio in LA when I was like 5. So, yeah. Yep, I remember those days. I was alive for the 83, 84 Super Bowl. Chewy, what's good, my G? What's good, my G? I hope all is well with the family. Hope everything is good with you, my brother. We need to get on here and run one of these lives one of these times. But you got my number. Hit me up. Hit me up. We'll do one. All right, man. Let's get back to this. I had a top member. I only got 5 people in my lives. Damn. Not a ton of good amount. Not a good amount, right? All right, so back to this, man. So we are on the Philadelphia Eagles with Andy Reid. Not too big of a jump, but in 2009, the New York Jets, they brought in Rex Ryan as their head coach. They were 9-7 in 2008, and then 9-7, but won an AFC championship, right? Won the AFC championship. Rex Ryan in the New York Jets in 2009. Damn, it's been a long time since the Jets have been in. Holy shit. Was it 2009? I better double check that. The San Francisco 49ers in 2011 with Jim Harbaugh. They were 6-10. In 2010, they improved to 13-3. Do I have their shit? All right, that's 17, right? 2017, did I say? Hold on. Oh, no, 2011. 2011, that was another team I don't have. All right, I don't know how I screwed all this up. But, anyways, in 2011, Jim Harbaugh took over the San Francisco 49ers, a team that was, again, 6-10, not very good. And they improved the next year to 13-11. They brought on some key players. And I thought I had a list of all these key players. I will have to find it after this and break it down. Then in 2012, the Washington Redskins bring in Mike Shanahan. They were 5-11 in 2011. They improved to 10-6 in 2012. That's a big jump, right? That's a big turnaround. These are all, I believe, first time head coaches in the NFL. I think that was Jim Harbaugh's first time, and I want to say it was Mike Shanahan's first time in 2000. No, it was not his first time in 2012. Anyways, in 2012 also, the Indianapolis Colts bring in Chuck Pagano. They draft, I do believe, I don't know why I want to say Andrew Luck, but I don't think that was it. I think it was Peyton. I don't know who the hell it was. Who they drafted in 2012? Do I have that? Hold on. Oh, 2012. The Indianapolis Colts. It was Andrew Luck. So the Andrew Luck, they draft, I do believe, first overall. And they had wide receivers like Reggie Wayne, a defensive end named Robert Mathis, another wide receiver named T.Y. Hilton. How many people remember T.Y. Hilton? That's a name I ain't heard in a long, long time. Long time. Well, not a ton, a good amount. 03, last Raiders Super Bowl. That was the last Raiders Super Bowl loss. Try not to count those. Try not to remember those. That leaves a horrible taste in my mouth with Tampa Bay and John Gruden. Yeah, I don't like that. Thanks for the reminder. But yeah, so the Colts, they bring in a couple players. They bring in Andrew Luck. And all of a sudden, the Indianapolis Colts go from 2-4, 2-4 to 11-5 by bringing in Chuck Pagano, which is another coach on here. No, that was Sperano. Anyways, Chuck Pagano, 2-14 in 2011. He turns the team around in 1 year, and the Indianapolis Colts with Andrew Luck go 11-5. They have their franchise quarterback of the future and the present. And they're a team to be reckoned with just by adding a couple pieces, right? Then you go 2015, the New York Jets. They bring in Todd Bowles. The Jets in 2014, they were 4-12. In 2015, they improved from 4-12 to 10-6 to make a playoffs. I do believe, are just shy of the playoffs. They brought in. Do I have that? I don't have that one either. It's horrible. Yeah, so they brought in, a couple players, turned it around. I can't remember who the damn head coach, who the quarterback was. And then the Buffalo Bills in 2017, a team that hadn't won anything, kind of like the Raiders until, right? They went to four Super Bowls in a row. Four Super Bowls in a row. They didn't win any of them, right? They won nada, zip, right? Guys like Eric Thurman, it's the only one that comes to my mind. I can't remember the damn quarterback. I'm old. But anyways, right? Four Super Bowls in a row, the team falls off and they can't win anything for a long, long time. And then in 2017, they bring in a guy named Sean McDermott. And I want to say this is his first time as a head coach. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments or correct me afterwards during the live, after the live is over. But they bring in Sean McDermott. They improve from 7-9 to 9-7 in 2017. Not a big jump, but you bring in a guy, culture change, a couple key pieces, and your team goes, from not so good to contender, right? Matt LaFleur, my guy Matt LaFleur comes from the Sean McVay tree. The Green Bay Packers had been struggling for a while, right? Since Aaron Rodgers left, right? They lose their coach, they lose Aaron Rodgers. They think they have the guy of the future in Jordan Love, but they struggle a little bit. 2019, they bring in Matt LaFleur. They were 6-9-1. In 2018, the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love finished 13-3 in 2019. So you go from 6-10, or yeah, from 6-9-1 to 13-3 in 1 year. In 2020, you see this trend every single year. This happens. Every single year this happens. Who will be the team this year? I believe the best team out of those bottom five teams are the Las Vegas Raiders. They made the most improvements in free agency. They swung for the fences. They took the biggest risk, and they knocked it out of the park with the draft. Pretty much everybody on the planet says the Raiders had an A plus in every position, and are A minus throughout the whole draft. So it kind of reminds me of a little bit like this. But the Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, I don't even know if this might have been his first head coaching job, because I want to say it was. But the Cleveland Browns, they bring in Kevin Stefanski. They were 6-10. In 2019, they finished 11-5. 11-5. This was what, 2020? Do I have their course shit on here? Yes. So the Cleveland Browns, they bring in a first round quarterback. That quarterback's name is Baker Mayfield, right? Drafted in I want to say the top five. I think he was second or third quarterback drafted. Anyways, they bring in Baker Mayfield. They bring in Nick Chubb. They bring in Myles Garrett, or they already had Myles Garrett. They have Javaris Landry, Joe Botano at guard, right? They have some pieces, not a lot of pieces, but those are their star guys. Those are their number one guys. And all it took was Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, a first round quarterback to come in, change the culture. Baker Mayfield does not have the accuracy Fernando Mendoza does. Baker Mayfield, I'm sorry to say, does not have the intelligence, I believe, from what I've seen, that Fernando Mendoza does. With just listening to his speak, the way he talks, the way he carries himself, the way he articulates his words. Right? It's night and day from Baker Mayfield to Fernando Mendoza. The arm might be different, but I don't think the rolling out of the pocket is any different. If you watch them side by side, which I did before I came on this live, It looks like Fernando Mendoza's little, what we seen in practices looked a little bit quicker coming out of the pocket. Looked a little bit quicker to get his hips around and throw the ball. So the Cleveland Browns, they bring in Baker Mayfield. They make a couple changes, and they go from 6-10 to 11-5. Why can't that be the Raiders? And Fernando Mendoza with the first overall pick, with a corner, in the second round that you moved back, and then you got a starting tackle or guard or center or wherever you want to put him. He's probably a starter at that position. Then the Cincinnati Bengals. And we all know what happened to the Cincinnati Bengals. They bring in Zach Taylor, I do believe, a first time head coach, right? They improved from 4-11-1 in 2020. Then the Super Bowl in 2021. So in 2020, they improved. They improved to 4-11-1, which before that they were like they won one or two games, right? It's the reason why they had the number one pick. They went and drafted their quarterback. We all know who that is. The quarterback is Joe Burrow. They drafted that quarterback. They won 4 games the next year because I don't believe he started from day one. Correct me on that in the chat if I'm wrong. But then 2 years, the next following year, Joe Burrow takes them to the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl that we should have been in, that Derek Carr, got picked off by a player that was released by the Raiders and Jermaine Pratt, right? All goes around in a circle. But yeah, from a team that won 1 game to a team that wins 4 games to a team that is in the Super Bowl 2 years later. Why can't the Raiders do that with Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty? What's good? What's good? What's good? My day's going good, my brother. How is yours? Um, and then in 2021, the Philadelphia Eagles, they bring in Nick Sirianni, right? They draft Jalen Hurts, Alabama kid, right? They went and get their they go get their quarterback. Not a first round quarterback, but I do believe he was second round. But they go and get their guy. And the Philadelphia Eagles, when Nick Sirianni took over, they were 4-11-1 in 2020. They improved from 4-11-1 to 9-8 the following year. The following year, with Jalen Hurts, they also had Devontae Smith that they traded for, Fletcher Cox, Dallas Goldberg tight end, and Denarius Slay. Those were their star players. We have Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Max Crosby. The list goes on and on. Jeremy Chin. We just drafted, a decent draft with Stokes and Fernando. This sounds like a team that can turn it around right away. And from me listening to the pressers today, the young men talk about the coaches, the young men talk about the culture, about how they're, very detail oriented, how they explain everything, they show you why, they tell you why. These guys are already bought in, and it's day 2, it seems like. You don't have guys saying what they're saying that early if they're not bought in, right? So, yeah, so the Philadelphia Eagles, they bring in a new coach, right? They change it around just like that. And 9-8, and Nick Sirianni is still the head coach, and they're still in the playoffs every single year, right? Then you go to the Minnesota Vikings in 2022. They bring in first-time head coach Kevin O'Connell, an offensive genius, right? The Minnesota Vikings were 8-9 in 2021. The following year, they were 13-4. 13-4. The Minnesota Vikings brought in. Anybody want to guess? Anybody in the chat? The Minnesota Vikings brought in Kirk Cousins to change around their franchise. That's right. They went from a 4-win team to 13-4 with the coach, Kevin O'Connell, who is an offensive guy, who has an offensive scheme, who has an offensive play, playbook that puts guys in the right position. He makes guys better. because he knows how to um, use the guys to their strengths and put the guys in best positions to show their strengths. So the Minnesota Vikings, 2022, they go get their offensive head coach and they bring in our very own Kirk Cousins, right? They also had Justin Jefferson, running back Dalvin Cook. I think Ashton Genty is better than Dalvin Cook. They had the defensive end Danielle Hunter. I think Max Crosby is better than Danielle Hunter. They had tight end TJ Hawkinson. I know Brock Bowers is better than TJ Hawkinson, right? So those were their 5-star players. I've already named you 5-star players on this team, and I didn't even mention Trey Tucker or Jack Besh or guys that could be star players like Michael Mayer, guys that could breakout years, right? I haven't even mentioned those guys. Dunkin' Donuts, what's good, my guy? Appreciate you pulling up. Um, so then the following year, the Eagles, yeah. So the Eagles went from 4-11 in 2020, and they turned it around, bringing in Nick Sirianni, drafting their quarterback, and they went to 9-8 the following year. Then in 2022, the New York Giants, they bring in Brian Daboll. They were 4-13 in 2021. The following year, they were 9-7, and then it all fell apart. um, so yeah, they bring in some guys. They change the culture. Do I have theirs on here as well? Oh yeah, the New York Giants, right? They draft Daniel Jones. They have Saquon Barkley. They have Dexter Lawrence. They have Andrew Thomas, and they have guys like Kalon Theodux. I always get his name wrong. It is what it is. But yeah, so they get their quarterback. They get Daniel Jones, who is not not anywhere as good as Fernando Mendoza, right? Not as good as Fernando Mendoza. I think Fernando has better accuracy, better timing, reads, in college he read defenses better. We'll see in the pros if that, leads to it. But I think with the way he, carries himself, in the playbook, the way he studies, the way he's all about film and learning the plays and being one step ahead, knowing what the defense is doing, I feel like he's ahead of Daniel Jones. And let's hope so, right? Then Saquon Barkley. I mean, Ashton Genty's no Saquon, but damn, we don't know how long it's going to be till he is, right? And then you got Mike Washington behind that, and Roman Himby. That's filthy work, right? Then Dexter Lawrence. I mean, Max Crosby's up there with that. Left tackle Andrew Thomas. I mean, we do have a center in Tyler Lindenbaum, which I didn't even mention in our best players, and we have Colton Miller. So we have a lot more than a top 5, players that help turn this team around than some of these teams did. Right? The next on the list is where was that? That was Brian Dayball. Next on the list is the Minnesota Vikings with Kevin O'Connell. They were 8-9 in 2021, and they went to 13-4 the next year. So you bring in Kevin O'Connell, an offensive, guru, a guy that knows how to get the best out of his players, how to put his offense in the right position, and just like that, the Minnesota Vikings went from an 8-9 team to 13-4. The following year, oh wait, who did they bring in? Let's see if I have it on here. Um, yeah, that was Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson. I already said that. I feel like it's on here twice. Then the following year in 2022, or the same year. So there was 3 teams in 2022. There was 2 teams in 2021. We'll get to that. But this is the 3rd team in 2022 that went from bottom of the league to the playoffs, or in playoff contention. The Jacksonville Jaguars brought in Doug Peterson. In 2021, they were 4-13. In 2023, they improved to 10-7. And I do believe they made the playoffs that year. If not, they were very, very close. They brought in First round pick, Trevor Lawrence. They went and got their quarterback, right? They got their quarterback. They brought in an offensive guy, on the offensive line. They had Travis Ian team. I believe Genty and Mike Washington is a better duo than that. They had Christian Kirk. I believe Brock Bowers. I don't know about the rest of the line, but I know Brock Bowers is better than that. Um, they had linebacker Foyesade Olaku. I think N'Kobe Dean and Quay Walker, could be better than that, right? And then they had defensive end Josh Allen, which, Max Crosby, you say if he's better than that or not, right? But I feel he is, right? So I believe we have more stars than all these teams that I'm naming that turned it around in 1 year, right? And then the very last one, I believe it's the last one. Well, I mean, it's not the last one, but it's the last one on my list because I don't know why my list stopped at 2023. But the Houston Texans were 3-13-1. They brought in first-time head coach D'Amico Ryans and improved to 10-7 the following year, and I do believe made the playoffs. And you know how they did it? That's right. They drafted their quarterback number 2 overall in the first round. But then they traded up and they got a starting defensive edge, Will Hunter, I believe, Will Anderson, 4th overall. They also had cornerback Derek Stingley. And those are the only 3-star players that I can find on that team to turn it around. I've named you at least 10 star players are, legit Pro Bowl type caliber players for the Raiders that can help turn this thing around. So, CJ Stroud, you know, compared to Fernando Mendoza, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Fernando Mendoza is better than CJ Stroud. I think he's better than Daniel Jones. I believe he's better than Kirk Cousins. I think he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I think he's better than Jalen Hurts, right? I believe he's going to be better than all these dudes. Tyrod Taylor, the team we talked about in 2017 was Blake Bortles, right? Mark Sanchez helped turn the Jets around from 3-13 to 11-5 team. Mark Sanchez, but you don't think Fernando Mendoza with Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers and a defense can? I'm just saying, guys like Matt Ryan in 2008 come in as a rookie, turns the Atlanta Falcons around from what were they? Damn, I don't have their shit on here. But another team that the Atlanta Falcons wasn't very good, right? Chad Pennington comes in and turns the Miami Dolphins around in 2008. All these teams, all these teams went and got their quarterback. They brought in an offensive guru, head coach, or a damn good defensive coordinator and an offensive mind. See how Mendoza spirals in practice. Nice. the ball is fire, bro. It comes out on a string. It's got so much rotation in it. It's ridiculous. I love it, bro. I love it. I know he's only thrown a couple passes, but I'm telling you, this team is going to be better than a lot of people think, right? We've put a lot of pieces together that are hungry. These dudes they want to win. Trading Stooks said, man, I don't care where they put me, right? I don't care if it's the nickel, the corner. I just want to help this team win, right? I want to be out there. I want to be a captain. I want to be the leader of the defense, right? I want to earn that leadership role. You have guys that want to earn it. They're not just saying, hey, man, I'm a captain. I was, in college. I'm going to be a captain. These guys want to earn their spot. And I've talked about it for the last 2 years. John Spytek, the one thing that sticks in my mind is when he talks about drafting guys, it's high character guys that love football and love their teammates, right? A lot of these guys have been captains. A lot of these guys that we brought in, their fathers were coaches. They've been around ball their whole life. They love ball. A lot of these dudes would probably do it, for less money. Don't don't say that, right? But a lot of these dudes would be like, man, I do this for free just because I love it. Those are the kind of guys we brought in, not guys that are going to be like, oh, I want to be the highest paid guy because I feel like I'm the best, right? That doesn't prove they're the best. They just feel like they're the best, right? Because, they turned their life around or had great stories or, whatever it is. But I feel like these guys are different, man. These guys are different. This draft class feels different than last year's. And last year's I was very happy with. Furpo in the building. Raiders. Mendoza exactly what those teams needed. Mendoza is exactly what this team needed, bro. He's a guy that, um, he's a guy that can come in and turn it around. And like I said, dude, New Orleans in 2026, they brought in Sean Payton, went 3-13 to 10-6. 2007, the Pittsburgh Steelers went from 8-8 to 10-6. The Baltimore Ravens with John Harbaugh and a new quarterback went from 5-11 to 11-5. I mean, every single year, teams get better. Somebody goes from nothing to the top, right? Why can't that be us? Why can't that be us? What else? Still at work, stop the debate. What's good, my guy? Appreciate you stopping in. Love these June draft players' personalities. Like you said, Rebel, they are hungry. They are coming in with intentions and violence, right? And that's what we need, bro. These guys want jobs, right? You heard Trey Zoon the third. He said, "Yes. Do you think you can play all five positions in the NFL?" He said, "I know I can. I know I can. Not yes, I think I can, bro. I know I can. Like this is nothing. Put me wherever you want." He said, "I just want to go out there and work and show that one of these spots are mine, bro. I'm taking one of these spots. Like this is a dude that he's not going to be happy if he's that swing guy waiting for somebody to get hurt. This is a dude that has intelligence. He benched 225 pounds 33 times, bro. He ran a five, I think a five flat 40. Like this man can move. He's athletic. He's strong. He has violent hands, and and a great a great head on his shoulders, right? He knows football. He's like, bro, I know if whether I'm playing them or not, right? Whether I have a position, I still take the time to learn everybody else's position and watch film, on those positions. But he would rather practice at all positions because the footwork's different, right? Lining up is different. You got, if you're on the left side, you got your left foot back. If you're on the right side, you got your right foot back, right? You got the different hand in the dirt, right? It's all different from side to side. So yeah, these are guys, man, that want to play. Traden Stukes, um, the fact that he's got, Dalton Johnson, that these guys are best friends. Did you see the smile on the dude's face? He couldn't stop smiling. He had a smile that was big as the Joker, bro. Like just ear to ear when they said, "How does it feel playing?" Feeling. How did you feel when you knew they drafted Dalton Johnson? He said, "Bro, we were on the phone yelling and screaming. I can't believe it. I can't believe it." Right? He said they're in the film room. Um, all day together, and then they leave and they go and they're in each other's hotel room. They're not even going anywhere. They're like, man, we go to, we're at practice, we go home and we're watching on the film, we're studying the playbook, we're getting into it. Both of us, like he said, we're gonna be on the field, bro. We're gonna be players. We're gonna help this team win, and that's the mentality from everybody they drafted. When you got hungry young guys like that, you can see why a guy like Charles Snowden, guys like Clendon McCurtis, why those guys were already let go. And let's get to that. So the guys let go were, I have the list. Actually, I can just go to Raiders.com. Boom. Could do that a minute ago. All right. So the Las Vegas Raiders, I posted on X a couple hours ago. It just so happened that I was sitting there looking at my phone, posting on X, and I get a message, and it's the Las Vegas Raiders saying the Raiders have signed the following: Devin Perkins, safety out of Utah Tech; Nicholas Henning, tackle out of Queens, Canada; Patrick Guard, tight end out of Cincinnati; and Kamari Missouri, tackle out of UTSA. The Las Vegas Raiders have released the following: Charles Snowden, defensive end out of Virginia; McClendon Curtis, guard out of Chattanooga, Tennessee; and Matt Latour, Lauder, tight end from Boise State. That's where it was, not Ole Miss. It was Boise State. And then Layden Robinson, guard from Texas A&M. So Raiders have released four players, two of them guards, a tight end, and a defensive end. You know, it shows me one thing: no one is safe, bro. No one is safe. If you think you're gonna be guys like, and no offense, but I don't want to say their name. I'm gonna stop doing that. I'm gonna stop putting players down from now on. But if you think you can be like a guy that was just traded, and just just lag around because you were a first round pick and you think they're just not going to get rid of you, and you're going to keep making the roster just for that reason. You're sadly mistaken on this team, right? You have to earn this shield. You have to earn that shield. You have to earn that shield, right? You don't get it on your helmet. It's just great. So I love the fact that these coaches are making these guys earn it. Everybody's hungry. And you see a lot of players from other regimes starting to trickle away. Tyree Wilson, Charles Snowden, McClendon Curtis. These are all guys that were brought in by the last two regimes, three regimes, if you want to go back to Tyree, right? These guys are starting to do what I've been saying for the last 2 years. And I'm not trying to, pat myself on the back. But the biggest thing that Spytek has said, and I've said it at least once alive, right? In Tampa Bay, they have 43 guys out of their 53-man roster that were either drafted or signed as a UDFA by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So those are Tampa Bay guys that they drafted or signed as a UDFA. They keep those guys in the building. They draft smart. They draft guys that they're not going to get rid of, guys that they don't have problems with. And they keep those guys and they develop them and they develop them and they develop them. That's why Tampa Bay is right there at the cuff of the playoffs. They're either in or they're, one game away every single year. Last year, it had a lot to do with their defense, right? They couldn't stop a nosebleed. But what I'm saying is Spytek comes from that thing. He said that's how he believes of building the foundation, right? You build your foundation on rock, not on sand, because sand gets washed away. So Spytek is cooking, man. He's setting up something strong here. And that's why I believe that a lot of these guys that, were just brought in free agency, guys that were brought in off the streets, will be washed away, right? It's not the strong foundation. Spytek's and the guys in the building, whether it's Brendan Hunt, whether it's the scouts that he trusted to go after the draft and go out and talk in his name, right? Like Spytek, dude, who are these Las Vegas Raiders? Who are these? Who is Fernando Mendoza? I feel like I'm in a new timeline and something just flipped. And like this is the Raiders of old and all their record from the past doesn't matter. So I feel like they're just gonna snap their fingers and be good. I just have that feeling. Like everybody's bought in. The culture just seems different. The way they talk about it seems different. The way nothing is getting out or being leaked, right? You only see what they want you to see. They had everybody confused in the draft that they were going wide receiver with the first pick and defensive tackle. They didn't pick either one of those. Matter of fact, they didn't pick either one of those until the sixth and seventh round. Those were the last two picks, not the first two picks. So Spytek and the rest of the people in the building, they have everything, under leash. Everything is on lockdown, and it just feels different, man. It just feels different, a lot different. Do you think Kubiak is better than other coaches in our division? I feel like he is. I feel like he is. You know why? Because they have a little bit of film on him, right? They have film on him what he did in Seattle, but the Denver Broncos couldn't beat Seattle, right? I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs played him, but didn't our division play Seattle last year? Didn't they play our whole division? I could be wrong. Anyways, I believe he is, right? Sean Payton, he was a new coach at one time. Andy Reid was a new coach at one time, right? All these guys were new coaches. They have their way, but there's a lot of film on the way they coach, on the way they play offense, on the way they play defense. There's not a lot on Kubiak, and they have no idea what he can do with the players he has in the building, right? You have no idea what he can make Fernando Mendoza in the first couple months of him being a Raider. We have no idea. I mean, this dude could come out and be Andrew Luck, right? He could come out and be all of them in one. Andrew Luck, Joe Montana, John Elway, right? Tom Brady. He could be all those dudes wrapped in one for all we know. We have no idea. So I believe Clint Kubiak is a guy that's going to compete with the AFC West, man. I have no doubt in my mind. I have no doubt in my mind that they believed enough in Rob Leonard that whatever plan that he brought in and said, look, this is what we're going to do. This is my defense. And everybody went, okay, okay, right? He stunned everybody. From what I heard, everybody was stunned in the meetings. They were like, why is this dude not a coach? So yeah, I think the Raiders are, quietly going to surprise everybody. And Raider Night, I do believe Kubiak can compete with all these coaches in our division. I wouldn't be surprised if right off the rip we're 3-3, whether it's Kirk Cousins or Fernando Mendoza starting. So are you happy that we still have Crosby? At this point, yeah. At this point, yeah. I mean, you got Crawford. What better person than to show him the ropes, right? Than to keep him on the up and up, to show him, every move that he has, just like he did with Tyree Wilson, right? Take this young man under your wing, and I believe he's the future of, could be the future of the Raiders. Third round pick that has a nonstop motor, great heart, great character, wants to be a Raider, wants to be a sponge, wants to be great, just like Max. It's perfect. It's perfect. So yeah, I'm with it. I mean, could we have used that 14th pick? Yeah, they could have used another 14th pick in the first round. I don't know who they would have took. It could have been McCoy for all we know. They could have wanted Gerard McCoy that bad. They were willing to take him at 14. I mean, we have no idea. So I'm happy with the draft. I was pissed off that we didn't have two first round picks. I'm not gonna lie. But now that the draft is over, and now once again that I see Spytek and the people in charge are actually the people in charge that know what they're doing, I mean, I can't hate on it. So yeah, I'm happy Crosby's back. If he's here for a good time or he's here for a long time, I don't know, right? It could be this year. It could be, well, his guaranteed money's up this year, so we'll see if it's for a long time. But for right now, he's a Raider, and I'm gonna keep looking at it like that. And I hope he could have his best year ever. I mean, if I'm looking at this defense, bro, Max Crosby has never, ever in 8 years had the weapons he has right now. You got two linebackers that can lock down whatever you want them to lock down, whether it's the run, the passing game. We have corners now that can play press man. We could play press man, yo. We could be up in your grill, press, hands up, right? Not giving 15 yards where a guy takes 3 steps and catches the ball and runs 80 yards for a touchdown. How many times did we see that last year and the year before and the year before? Soft ass defense and a cover three. I don't think that's going to be this year, man. I hope to God it's not, but I don't feel it is. D Menace in the building. What's good, OG? What do you think about Utah Tech safety Devin Perkins? Not a lot of film that I could find, right? Not a lot of film, not even highlights. Not, I mean, just little short things here and there. I didn't get to see any interviews, so I don't know much on the character. So I don't know. I want to see more of him in practices. Would like to see a lot of him in preseason, see what he looks like. But I really like Tanner Wall, man. I think this young man has a chance to really, really make it. A former walk-on receiver, turned safety, right? He ran in the 4.5s. I mean, that's good enough to get sideline to sideline in the NFL, I feel. Good tackler, great young man. I mean, they killed it again, bro. They killed it again in UDFAs. I really do. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear a lot more names continue to come. I don't think this is the year, like every other year, where the Raiders are waiting until the last minute to name their 53-man roster. I would not be surprised if they pretty much know who those 53 men are, right? Now, they're probably trying to figure out who they're going to put on the practice squad, because I think there's a lot of people that can make that 16-man practice squad. I think it's 16-man, right? So there's a lot of people I feel that can make that. But I really have a gut feeling that they don't really need to see too much. I think they know who they're going with. I'm sure they don't know who the starters are, but so yeah, D Money, I would like to check out more of Devin Perkins. If you could find any film on it, send it to me, please. I appreciate it. Raiders. Raider Knight sent the thumbs up. Appreciate you, my brother, with the thumbs up. Would be crazy if we win a Super Bowl with Jackson and Rice. That would be insane, bro. It would be absolutely insane. It would be more insane if if they were on the roster and not on the practice squad. But man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Now I want to talk about one thing that I don't like, and this is the next subject, right? We talked about. Oh, and I wait before I do this. I didn't even talk about how the Bears turned it around, right, with their head coach Ben Johnson. I didn't even talk about how the Patriots turned it around with their head coach in the first year with the first year quarterback. Drafting a first year quarterback and letting him play first year. And yes, I'm changing my mind. Now, I don't believe they're going to play him because of Tom Brady. But if I have any say and I can help push Fernando Mendoza to start right away, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I don't think it should be Kirk Cousins. I think Aiden O'Connell is better than him, but he's not better than Fernando. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he doesn't have the movement, the footwork, the spiral, the short arm strength, right? So, might be more intelligent and further along at knowing the game, both of them. But man, just put the kid out there and play. If this offensive line shows that they can hold up in preseason, right? In the quarters that it get out there, if they show that they can run the ball and guys can get open, I'm really starting to change my mind to just go with this young man, bro. Why waste a year? why waste one? Why waste one when we could go out and have the rookie of the year possibly, and make a push, make a push. I don't know. I don't know how big of a push, but yeah, Super Bowl would be insane. But I just don't. I don't think that's really. I mean, yeah, it's a long shot, but we're the Las Vegas Raiders, bro. We're in the gambling city of the world, right? Roll the dice. Roll the dice. You never know. It can land on black. It can land on silver. If it lands on silver, then shit, it's over. We going to the Super Bowl. But I'm just saying, I'm not getting crazy, but I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on this team. Fernando Mendoza, on the latest poll that came out, he was ranked the 28th best quarterback in football. Now, I know he hasn't thrown a ball. I know he ain't touched it. I know he ain't took a snap. I know he ain't rolled out of the pocket or been hit one time or played a game or lost a game or won a game. I get all that. But I do know he's better right now than at least probably 15 of the quarterbacks. Maybe 20. I might get carried away. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's better in his first year that he plays than half the NFL. I mean, dude, you're not gonna find a kid as perfect as what we have right now. And I'm just gonna say it. Find me a flaw. I don't want to hear about the panicking, eyes drop. All those things are going to be fixed. They will all be fixed by the time the season starts, or they won't play them, right? But if they do play them, you could guarantee that all those things have been fixed, right? And so, come on, man, 28th? They got him as the 28th best quarterback in the football? I don't see that. I don't see that. I think he's going to definitely sneak up on some people. I can see the Raiders winning and making a wild card run this year. I mean, honestly, bro, if we go 3-3, if we go 3-3 in the division, hell, let's say we go 2-4 in the division. If we go 2-4 in the division, that's 4 losses. We'd have to go 6 games. So we somehow have to go like 8-3 the rest of the year for the rest of the games. That would make us 9-7. That would put us right on the cuffs. I don't know why we couldn't do that. I don't know why we couldn't do that. We're playing the Jets. We're playing the Browns. They still don't know who their quarterback is, bro. We playing Miami Dolphins. Like, they're in the same boat we are. New head coach, new system, new players. Didn't have near as good of a draft. I don't think they got 3 players out of their draft that could be starters right away, right? I think Trey Zoon, I believe in my heart, Trey Zoon, Fernando Mendoza, Stukes could start right away. I believe Mike Washington could start right away for a team if they didn't have Ashton Genty or if he had to, right? So that's 4. I think all 4 of those dudes could start right away. I'm just saying. That's me. That's me. Salute diminished. Cheers. Raider night. We could split wins with our division and compete, and we could beat any team. I mean, if you look at the weapons, bro, we don't even have to have great games. Fernando Mendoza does not have to throw for 500 yards. Our defense is going to be freakish. Now, we don't know what Rob Leonard is going to be as a coach, but listening to the players, listen to them talk about the detail-oriented, the telling, everybody why and the how and the when and the where. Man, telling you. I'm going to say it right now. I think we're over 500. I think we go over 500. I really do. I really do. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if, by some fluke of nature, we turn it around and end up better than that. I mean, if Colton Miller stays healthy, you got the $80 million man at center. You have your choice of JPJ, of Trey Zune, of Burford at left, right? You got Colton Miller on the left tackle. You have your choice of those 3 guys at left guard. You also have your choice of Jordan Meredith, JPJ, Trey Zune, or Caleb Rogers playing the right guard spot. And then you can have Dalton Wagner, DJ Glaze, Caleb Rogers, and Charles Grant, or Zahn possibly playing the right tackle spot. I mean, we forget how big Caleb Rogers is, right? He could probably play that right tackle spot if he had to in a pinch. I wouldn't put it past him if he held his own at that spot too, if he had to do it in a pinch. So a lot of people are sleeping on these weapons, man. A lot of people. Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch has a little podcast. Go and check it out. They had some dude named Coach. I don't even know who this dude is. I see him on X yelling, cussing, screaming, smoking cigars. I don't know who he is, so I don't want to say shit. But he said he's not on the Fernando Mendoza bandwagon. The Raiders just don't have the team. We don't have the weapons. I really hope people keep sleeping on that. I hope the rest of the NFL thinks that. I hope every team we play every week thinks that until the first couple of weeks when they're like, oh shit, the Raiders are different. The Raiders are different, right? The Titans, Greg, I think Gentry and Washington Jr. are going to have a nice split load. Like I said, I agree with that. I said it before. Shout out for the $5 holler. I believe let's go. Right? Let me get a Raiders. Just win, baby. Just win Doza. Just win Doza. Mile Pack and Barley missing the playoffs in progress. Mid Pack and barely missing. I wouldn't be mad at Mid Pack and barely missing the playoffs. I'll be happy with that. I'll be happy with that. Raiders faded. Shout out for the $2 holler. I'll join in on that. Raiders. Damn, I got car alarms going off. I didn't think it was that loud. Fuck. Can Dante Thornton have a breakout season or is he a bust? Man, I'm glad you brought that up, my guy. Because if you don't follow me on X, go check it out. If you don't have X, follow me on Instagram. If you don't have Instagram, follow me on Facebook. I believe they're all the same. I could be wrong. If one of my mods could post them in the chat, I believe Candy knows all they are, and Faded. But yeah, follow me on all of those. I posted a picture, right? I posted a picture that was posted of camp, which I don't know because I didn't think Michael Mayer could be out there. I thought it was all rookies, so I think it was last year. But I posted a picture of Michael Mayer catching a ball like this, right? This is how you catch the ball, triangle, right? You had a triangle. You put your hands out right? You attack the ball. You don't let it come to you like this or like this, right? That's not how you catch the football. Dante Thornton, I posted a picture on 3 different things, right? He's running a route, right? He's got the wrong leg in front of him. He's turned sideways. He's got his hands like this. He's bent down, trying to catch a football like this. Like, come on, bro. And then you got the rookie Malik Benson today. Pictures of him catching balls. Bink, right? Then you got, appreciate it, Candy Angel. Then you got Chase Roberts, the rookie. Picture of him catching balls today. Bink, right? Brock Bowers catching balls today. Bink, down here. Bink, behind his back. Still the triangle, right? Nobody's doing this. It's just Dante Thornton. And I don't see how he made it through a whole year and nobody still told him, bro, you're 6'6". You have a huge wingspan, right? You can beat these guys if you just get your hands out and attack the ball. Just go get it. Don't let it come to you. That's not how you catch a football. You never let it come to you. So, man, you gotta. I don't know, man. I don't want to say he's a bust because I mean a 4th-round pick, right? That's taking a chance, right? We went and got Gerard McCoy, who might not ever play it down for the Raiders in the 4th round. So no, he's not a bust, right? He just needs to work, and I feel like the Raiders have too many players that are ahead of him when it comes to catching the football, when it comes to knowledge of route running, when it comes to knowing how to get separation and beat defenses. I just feel the Raiders have too many receivers that are ahead of where Dante Thornton was. And, speaking of Dante on, Gridiron Apex, he was one of those dudes that said, I think when he was drafted, that, bro, I don't know why you drafted Dante Thornton. I mean, I don't know. But it was a Pete Carroll pick. His speed, his size, right? But he's got a lot of work to do. And I just don't feel like the Raiders have enough time to wait. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being on one of those released lists. But we heard Spytek say he believes in Dante Thornton. But he's going to have a great camp. He's really going to have a solid camp, no drops, good form. And he's going to have a good preseason. And if that doesn't happen, I wouldn't be surprised if he's, on the march. And it sucks because, I mean, damn, who doesn't want to have a 6'6", receiver with a huge catch radius and reach that can run a 4.3 40, right? The potential's all there. But I really feel like it might be somebody else's potential for the Raiders. I don't know if they have time to wait, right? If some of these guys like Cedric Jackson, right, that has the same kind of speed, almost the same height, weighs a little bit more, right, has a little bit more experience in the NFL already, that I think Cedric Jackson could end up being one of those sleeper Clint Kubiak guys, right? Raiders have nothing but time? I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And I don't feel like this is past regimes where you bring in guys that are better football players than a guy you drafted in the 4th round, and you just keep this 4th round pick because of upside. Now, the only way I see that he makes it is if he shows progress, and if John Spytek just has a place in his heart because he was a John Spytek pick. I know it was a Pete Carroll guy that wanted him, but John Spytek signed off on it. So being a Spytek guy, I think that's the biggest chance he has. But I don't really think it has anything to do with his, with his skill set of catching footballs or running routes. But, if somebody knows him and this clip gets back to him, I hope it makes him work harder. You know what I'm saying? Because I would love nothing else than Fernando Mendoza to be able to throw the ball to a 6'6" receiver with 4.3 speed. But it makes no sense to throw the ball to a 6'6" receiver that, takes 5 steps and his head's already around looking for the ball. You got to have more patience. You got to develop timing. You got to know when to look for the ball because every time you look back, you're slowing down, right? You can't see where you're going, tripping over, falling over your own feet. So you got to know when to look for the ball. You got to have some kind of timing and rhythm. And then you got to be able to not get beat out by smaller receivers, right? I mean, smaller defenders. So I hope he can do that, but I'm looking at this receiver class and I'm going, man, I just don't know, bro. I think Malik Benson right now is better than Dante Thornton. I know Chase Roberts is better right now than Dante Thornton when it comes to catching, when it comes to physicality, when it comes to winning those 50-50 balls. I know damn well that EJ Williams is better than Dante Thornton right now as we speak, right? He might not be as fast, but he's better at running routes. He's better at creating separation. He's better at reading defenses, getting open. So, man, I don't know. I think Dante could be one of those guys that's really on the cut list. Dante Thornton is the Tyree Wilson of the offense. I mean, no, yeah, no. I mean, it's not that bad, right? If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But I don't think it's that bad. Tyree was a seventh overall pick in the first round, and Dante was a fourth round pick, right? So it's a little bit of a difference, right? And I mean, if you're looking at their time to develop, I could see the connection there as well, right? Because we knew Tyree Wilson was hurt his first year. It was going to take him a year before he could get it all together, and it ended up taking him 3 years. Which I still think Tyree Wilson is going to go over to the Saints and play ball, right? I know they said they're not going to pick up his 5th year option, but maybe he goes and makes him pick up his 5th year option, right? If they put him in the right position. I wish all the best for Tyree. I wish all the best for Dante Thornton too. Anybody drafted Raiders, they have a special place in my heart, right? Unless you're just one of those dudes that every time you do something is stupid and cost us, games, then yeah, I have to change that. Having Gino, not another interception didn't help. I agree with that too as well, Greg. I agree 100%. The O line wasn't great, but I'm just talking about the balls that I seen hit Dante Thornton's hands. And if they were like this, maybe he could have caught it. But when they're like this, it's kind of hard to catch. So I've seen a lot of balls hit his hands, a lot of passes that he should have came down with, that he was, way more dominant physically, not physically, but height attributes and lengths, right? He was bigger, way bigger than the defenders he was going against, but they were playing like pounds out there. And what? Oh, yeah. So some of those little dudes with hops, shit, they shouldn't be beating making 6'6" receivers drop the ball. So yeah, I know Gino didn't help. It didn't help any of our receivers. Sure the hell didn't have Jack Besh, but at least Jack Besh, right? Jack Besh had less targets than Dante Thornton, but he had more receptions and more yards. So that says a lot to me. Maybe he needed to work on those ball mechanics. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's just work ethic. If I'm drafted in the NFL, whether it's the first round or the seventh round, right? Me, I would be there 12 hours a day, bro. Like, what else do you have to do? If you love football that much and you get drafted, you shouldn't have nothing else to do. What are you gonna go home and play video games? Come on, man. Like, that's why people fail. Like the people that don't have that work ethic and that mentality that I know that I have weaknesses and I know how to fix those weaknesses. It's by practice. Practice makes perfect, right? You hear that old saying, practice makes perfect. The more you practice, it becomes body memory, muscle memory, brain memory, and then it just becomes easy, right? And then you get better. Once it becomes easy, then you get better. It becomes faster. Everything slows down. That's how you get good at shit. But some guys just like, oh, hey, I made it, right? I made it. I made it. I'm gonna go to practice, then I'm gonna go home and do my thing. I'm not gonna get in the playbook, right? Guys like Jamarcus Russell, the story of blank tapes. You send him a blank VCR tape. Yeah, I watched all the plays, man. I'm ready to go. Put me out there, coach. Send him a blank tape, right? So You got to have that work ethic. And if I was a guy like Dante Thornton and I got drafted to a team like the Raiders in the fourth round and I had his speed and size, I would be out there um, like Shador Sanders. I'm not the biggest Shador Sanders fan, but man, do you see this kid after practice in the park throwing till the sun goes down, right? Just out there throwing and throwing, which probably isn't good for your arm because the more you throw it, the more chance you have of, having shoulder injuries or ligaments or, rotating cup and shit like that. But the dude's work ethic is up there, right? It's up there. So eventually he'll be one of those dudes. He just got to learn to get the character and all that shit together at the same time. But you got to have work ethic, man. Do you see Taylor Green beating out Sanders? Man, that's rough. Athleticism wise, height wise, Taylor Green all day. Decision making, throwing the ball into tight windows, um, accuracy. I think that goes to Shador. But Taylor Green's accuracy, I believe, is just as good, if not better, than Shador's. It's just not as consistent, right? It's too many spot hit and miss, hit and miss. So Taylor Green's going to be one of them ones. If he gets his chance, to go out there and show that he's not a wide receiver and he's a quarterback, he's going to impress some people. And I've seen Taylor Green grow the last 2 years in Arkansas. Um, my daughter went to the University of Arkansas. She was on the flag team, right out there at the halftime where they do the color guard stuff. So I've seen these kids out there practicing. I've seen them grow. I've seen their work ethic. Some, a lot of times seen them go from the spring game when they play the red and white games to, throughout the season. I'm like, man, this kid's getting so much better. But it's just the decision making with Taylor Green. He's gotta put it all together. Yeah, yeah. See, you have games like that, the Senior Bowl, which, I mean, nobody had a great game at the Senior Bowl, right? None of these quarterbacks had a great game. The wind was blowing in their face. It was cold. It was windy. It was just one of those bad days to be a quarterback, to go out there and try to show who you are. And he probably should have made more plays with his legs, but yeah, that didn't help. But then when he went on Coach Gruden and showed that he can hit the little square in the net, bing bing bing, 1 2 3. He threw it 3 times deep, made it every single time, which a lot of people didn't make all three. I believe Taylor Green did. So he has a great recollection of plays, and he can recall stuff. He's got a good mind. He's just got to stop overconfident, I think is the word for Taylor Green. Overconfident, right? He believes that he's bigger than everybody, he's stronger than everybody, and he can just throw the ball wherever he wants to, when he wants to, and it's going to work. And he started to find that out last year that and the year before, and at Boise, that's not always the case, right? But baby steps. Yes, he's up there in age, but if you go to Cleveland, you get the right coaches, you get the right guys around you, like Deshaun Watson, who is a guy that's been there, done that. He could learn a lot from if he could stay healthy and in the building. So yeah, I wish the best for Taylor Green, man. I'm not an expert in SEC teams due to being a USC fan. All right, well then let's talk your quarterback, Maya Vea. Whew. I think that's my favorite quarterback. I got a lot of quarterbacks I like in this draft coming out next year. I love Trinidad Chambers. I like CJ Carr. I'm not too sure. I like the Julian Sayin kid, but I just think that a lot of those Ohio guys, they just don't ever turn out to be anything in the NFL because they just have too many good players around them. That's kind of what I'm scared about Mendoza. I hope it's not, it wasn't just the players around him that made Mendoza great like it does a lot of these teams that, Oregon, Alabama, right? They go to the NFL and they just fall apart. Um, but Maya Vea, man, this kid reminds me kind of the Fernando, man, the spin on the ball. It just seems like it has 10 more rotations being thrown, 20 yards than most quarterbacks. It just, I don't know. If you try to count the rotations on the ball, I don't think you can. It's spinning so damn fast. So it doesn't seem like he has the strongest arm when he's throwing over 40, 50 yards. Doesn't have the strongest arm, but those 20, 30-yard passes from Fernando Mendoza are like laser beams, bro. They just come out so fast. And I think Maivia has that as well. You know, watching a lot of film on Jacoby Lane last year and a lot of film on Makai Lemon, I just, man, I fell in love with this kid. I was like, bro, this Maivia is putting it together. And if you could just, why don't he transfer? Why transfer? Go to Ohio State, bro. Why didn't he transfer and go to Indiana? Like, I love the loyalty and all, but man, sometimes you choose the wrong decision and you can't stick it out, right? Like maybe USC will be good next year. Maybe they'll bring in more recruits, but man, I don't know. I don't know about the coaching over there. You seen how they had a great year with Caleb Williams, and then the next year, his senior year, just fell off, right? Um, yeah, yeah. I like my Isaiah. I like a lot of these dudes though. It's gonna be a lot of good college quarterbacks coming out, man. A good lot. Don't tell my quarterback to transfer. Yes, yes, he needs to transfer, bro. The team is not helping him. If you really care about the young man and you care about his future and not just USC winning, you should care about his dreams. Just saying. Um, LSU took one prospect that I wanted to stick around Long Street. It's messed up. D Money in the building. Appreciate you, my guy, with a $5 holler. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Help put food on the table. Raiders Unleashed. You believe the Raiders will move Tassie to play nose as a starter? I don't know why they didn't last year, right? I do like the fact that he got a little time with the offensive line. So he got to learn that aspect of it, right? How you block, you know, how you block in power, how you block in gap schemes, how you block in wide zone schemes, right? He picked that up. So he knows what the offensive line is trying to do to him, right? How they're gonna double team him, how they're gonna pass people off. I think that was good for Lackey Tassie to learn. Learn the hands, right? Learn the hand work. Learn how to, come up and stand your ground. But now his whole life he's went forward, right? In rugby, you don't go backwards. You're not protecting nobody, right? The ball's on the ground, everybody's in a huddle, and they pick it up and everybody starts pushing, right? So this man knows how to do one thing, and that's push forward, which I guess that's why they want him to be an offensive lineman, to push forward. But not all the time are you pushing forward. That's only in the run game. So it makes more sense. You're not ever going to have him dropping back into coverage on defense. So it makes way more sense to me to put Lackey Tassie at nose. And I don't really think there's a big learning curve there, right? I feel like he learned a lot of football playing on the offensive side. And you should be able to just tell, see ball, get ball. This is what we need you to do. You make sure nobody runs through this A gap. You make sure nobody runs through this A gap. And you close both of those gaps. And yeah, the future is bright for this man. His legs are as big as a Volkswagen. I mean, I've never seen a man with bigger legs than that. How do you move this man? That's probably why they thought, with the junk in the trunk that he has and the tree trunk legs, offensive line would be a good spot, right? Ain't nobody gonna move him. But he's a guy that's used to going forward. And yes, defensive tackle is the best spot. Will he be a starter this year? Depending on how fast he picks it up. You're going to have guys like J.J. Pegues and Adam Butler, who I think's time is, maybe coming to an end. The Raiders would save a little bit of money, I do believe, if they got rid of Adam Butler. I mean, I think they take a pretty good cap hit, but that would be next year, right? I think. I don't know. So, yeah. Lackey Tassie, bro, I would put at nose tackle all day. All day. Because, like I said, you just tell them, man, this is what we're running. You go out there and this is what you do. Just get ball, or you just make sure that you push these, this guard and this center. If you could take on both of them and push them out of the way, let our linebackers, N'Kobe Dean and Quay Walker get in there. Or, guys like Jeremy Chin playing out of out of the safety or shit, blitzing nickels or blitzing corners. I feel like there's going to be a lot more blitzing this year. At least I hope to God there will. The head coach from USC having me be like, yeah, man, I don't know about, I can't remember his name for some reason. But yeah, he did well at, was okay at Oklahoma. Then he goes to USC, and I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think he's as great as everybody makes him out to be. Or maybe USC's recruiting is just bad. I don't know. I just don't know. What else we got? What head coach at you? Oh yeah, got that. We have a huge size as well. Snowden released a bit of surprise. Why is it a surprise to you? There's a lot of people that seem to be surprised with that, Alec. Tell me why you're surprised. Because I was surprised that they kept him because, I mean, the dude had a DUI. The dude parked his car on a wall that was doing this shit, like in the middle of Las Vegas, right? Like he could have, that could have went horribly, horribly bad. So I was surprised that they kept him around, and I just felt like they didn't have any depth. Was the only reason he was here. But I'm looking at it right now, and I'm thinking Jafari Harvey, right? I'm thinking guys like Traven May, and these are you got Tonka Hemingway, right? Those are guys that all could get to the football, all can hold their ground, right? All can run their contain. I believe so. Yeah, I just I'm not surprised that Snowden's gone, and like I said, I'm not surprised because it was one of those, wasn't that an AP pick, right? So another AP pick. I feel like anybody that is not a standout star that was drafted by Josh McDaniels, that was drafted by Antonio Pierce, or that was brought in, with Pete Carroll, that wasn't a spy tech main guy. I feel like they're not safe. They're not safe. My ass still on. Yeah, man, it's Friday night. I ain't got nothing else to do. Why not? Talk Raiders. I had a rough 2 days. Horrible news. Yeah, had to come out here and relieve some stress. Lincoln Riley. Yeah, that's it. Lincoln Riley. Yeah, I don't know about that dude. I thought he was a good coach at first. And like I said, maybe it's just the staff he put around him. Maybe it's just USC. I don't know. But since he's been there, and since Caleb Williams, even the senior year, like they just haven't been good. Yeah, I feel like Tassie's going to be a dog on defense. And I'm really starting to believe that's why they didn't go defensive tackle, in the first couple rounds. Everybody thought, it was going to be the second round. They were going to move back up, take a Caden McDonald, right? Take one of these guys like a Peters, Peter Woods, not like a Peters, not your Peter, Peter Woods, right? A lot of people was thinking that. I've seen a lot of mock drafts where it was a defensive tackle moving back up to get one or taking one in the second. And I tried to tell y'all we was moving back. We was moving back, right? That's what the little birdie said. Don't be surprised if they move back. I thought it'd be more than 2 picks, but it is what it is. So I think Lackey Tassie moving to the defensive spot, like I said, is a reason why they were like, do we really need a nose tackle? I mean, we got this Volkswagen that's playing offensive guard, and we don't need him to play offensive guard. We really need him to play tackle, but he's just not quick enough and fast enough and doesn't know this, hasn't played football long enough to play tackle. So let's put him where he belongs on the defensive line and just let him move bodies. Yeah, the DUI is crazy. When you have a player like Henry Ruggs, who's at Top Golf, leaves there intoxicated and has his situation that ends up taking the life of a young lady and a dog, right? And he's still, he's just now about to get out of prison. So you would think when you have situations like that in your building that you wouldn't allow or have any tolerance for that. So I was really really surprised that Snowden was still on the team, and it wasn't a surprise to me when they released him. I was like, man, He made it a lot longer than I thought. Right, a lot longer than I thought. Safety Perkins out of a little Utah Tech got signed in camp. I don't know much about him either. I don't know much about him either. But Utah Tech, it seems like, with the BYU kids, that they're going for a lot of these Christian, Mormon type kids that have faith, that have something they believe in. I think that's a good, starting point for a stability for a player in the NFL when you're going to make millions of dollars, right? It's good to have something you believe in, right? Have a goal in life, have a set schedule and routine. Man, I don't know, bro. I'm really starting to feel like what I have 5. Where's that UDFA list? Yeah, man. I don't know. I think I had 4 UDFA's I thought could make the squad, but then guys like Perkins out of Utah Tech, right? Not a lot of film that I could find, but all these dudes have the same thing in common: their character, their integrity, right? Their loyalty, their love of the game, and that, man, sometimes that's all you need to win ball games. You don't have to have the biggest, fastest, strongest guys all the time if you have the smartest guys all on the same page. Will there be a kicking competition between Tokyo Toe and Gay? Yes, yes, there will be definitely a competition, and not just between him, but there's another kicker that they brought in. Shut up there, bud. Like my shit on X. Let me get to it. Where's my notes? So there is another kicker that they have brought in, and his name is oh man, I forgot about this, bro. Shout out. Can we do a moment of silence? Can we do a moment of silence for former Raider Josh Moreau, who recently passed away at the age of 35? Once a Raider, always a Raider. So, yeah, rest in Raider paradise, my brother. I forgot about that, and I haven't been on the last 2 days, so it slipped my mind. But man, hate losing Raiders. Even though he was the Arizona Cardinal for a long time, he was still a Raider. 1 year or not. All right, where is this damn list? Nope, that's not it. Get better organized. Okay, I don't know where the other list went, but there are a lot of guys on this list, man. Roman Himby, I feel, makes this team. The 53, not just the roster. 53. Roman Himby. Um, don't sleep on Corey Rucker out of Arkansas State as well. But Tanner Wall, I would not be surprised if he's one of the last, down to the last guys if he doesn't make this team on the practice squad. Might need another year, before he makes the 53. Tokyo Toe, and there's another kicker somewhere Nate Reed out of Delaware. That's it. So Nate Reed out of Delaware was an invite, and from what I hear, um, dude is a solid kicker, right? Very solid dude, very consistent, and he's even more consistent and kicks longer than Tokyo Toe. So do not be surprised if Tokyo Toe does not make this team, which a lot of Raider fans will be mad about because I know a lot of people want to have that, you know, that Tokyo Toe jersey with his name in Japanese. He is Japanese, right? I hate to get it wrong. His name in Japanese, which I don't think will ever happen. I'm sure it'll be in English. But a lot of people want to see the young man make the team. I'm rooting for him. but I believe there's three kickers. And for some reason, I wanted to say there was four. Uh, but some of these invites, the O line, Giovanni, excuse me, Giovanni Ovino out of Hawaii, offensive lineman. Watch out for this young man too, right? I watched a couple of Hawaii games last year. They had a pretty solid team, man. They had a pretty solid team. They had some players. Also, Dejon Reynolds out of UNLV, who's a hometown boy, right? Some people talking about him making a little bit of noise. I just don't see how he does on this roster. And tomorrow we will break down my 53-man roster way too early. I was gonna wait until there was some games played, right? But man, everybody's already doing theirs. So if I don't get mine out, you know what I'm saying? I gotta get mine out. So we'll do a way too early one. And we might just do what we did last year, do a way too early one and leave it. Because I believe almost everybody we had last year making the team, except four people made the team. So we'll see how close we get this year. But that will be coming up tomorrow. We will break down the roster. Who else? Who else? There was some. So yeah, Tanner Wall, I think, has a chance to make the practice squad at least for this team. Um, Xavier Sorey, I feel makes this roster, and maybe even the 53 man. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he sneaks onto the 53-man roster, which is maybe why a guy like Jamin Davis was released. I wouldn't be surprised. Kinshaw State, I talked about it the other day. I do believe it's that corner. Caleb Oford. Caleb Oford. Dude is a damn good corner, man. He straps. He can lock down some players. Good in coverage. Could play zone or press. I do believe so. Watch out for Caleb. Caleb offered another guy that could make some noise. And I'm hearing a lot of talk. I haven't seen any film, right? And I have it wrote down on the things to do list. It's just not easy to find. NC State edge, Sion Sloan. Watch out for this young man. Watch out for that name. I would not be surprised if Sion Sloan somehow sneaks his way onto the practice squad and pushes some of these guys to look for other jobs. But heard a lot. I talked to a couple people. I was like, bro, can you tell me where to find film on this dude? Because I'm having problems. I'm having problems. So they were like, yeah, just watch out for that name. So we'll see if he does anything. And then Justin Pickett at a Duke and Isaiah Jada at a BYU. Now, they brought in a lot of BYU guys, Tanner Wall, Isaiah Jada, and Chase Roberts. And I think they really like these players. From what I'm hearing, the little birdie in my ear has said, man, watch out for the BYU kids. So I don't know if it's just Clint Kubiak being the, Christian background and they just fit and click, or, he likes guys of faith, but all of them are athletic, right? All of them are ballers, great character. Like I said, Tanner Wall was a three-time captain after being a walk-on receiver, switching over to safety, won a whole bunch of awards. I think he was the two-time ACC player or all ACC team or something. I forget exactly what it is. I'll look it up in a minute. I have it on here. Um, so yeah, both those tackles. They released Matt Latour at a Boise, and then Chase Roberts, Corey Ruckers, EJ Williams, Roman Himby. Haven't seen anything from Sawyer Robinson, right? No talk from Sawyer Robinson. They said it's even on here as a UDFA. Then I heard he was on the invite list, but he still hasn't been out there. Hasn't been out there that I've seen. There was a quarterback out there today, but I don't think it was him. So I don't know if they brought in another invite. But I'm looking at the invite list, and it does not have. Um, it has a linebacker, four offensive linemen. I don't know why we keep bringing in this offensive lineman unless some of those are tackles. Right tackle, I feel like is the only thing that needs more competition. But don't be surprised if Dalton Wagner makes some noise this year or is not on the team at all. I don't think he makes the practice squad this year. I think it's either boom or bust. I think this year for Dalton Wagner, he's going to have to figure it out. And then Jacob Clark, if Sawyer Robinson does not show up to camp, there's even a couple beat writers for the Las Vegas Raiders who don't know what's going on with Sawyer Robinson. They're confused. They're like, I thought he was on the UDFA list, and then somebody else said no, he was on the invite list, and then somebody else was like, but he's not on the invite list, and he's still not in camp either days. He hasn't been out there, so have no idea what's going on with Sawyer Robinson. But if Jacob Clark makes this team, it'll definitely be for the practice squad. And then something else to keep in mind. I'll end with this. I know there's 15 people in the building, but let me read these comments and then I'm gonna get the hell off here if y'all ain't got nothing else to talk about. Where we got to that. All of the things to believe in. You choose the Raiders. You'd be better off with the Easter Bunny. That's a funny comment. I won't block you because it was funny. But man, yeah, I chose the Raiders. Raiders for life. I would never choose another team. That's all I know is silver and black. And I will be rooting for them, win, lose, or tie until I die, right? And hopefully they win and stop losing and tying before I die. And I think it's coming very, very soon. So maybe the Easter Bunny is real. Sadell University kicker. Okay, so that's the other one. Damn, somebody just put a sick ass cut up. Oh wait, I saved that already. Of Ashton Genty and Mike Washington on TikTok. Y'all go check out Juice FX on TikTok. Cold cut up of Mike Washington and Ashton Genty. That shit was fire. But I'm gonna leave you with this, right? I read all the names. We've went over it and over and over. E.J. Williams, Corey Rucker, Chase Roberts. They also brought in wide receiver Dejon Reynolds and Idaho State Michael Sholokov. I don't know. Sholokov, I think. But he's a wide end receiver, tight end / wide receiver. There's a lot of wide receivers, and there's a lot of talk about the Raiders need to go out and get that guy, right? We need to get a guy in free agency, but I'm going to end this with this. The Raiders currently have $26 million cap room after the Tyree Wilson trade. The draft pool is $21.5 million because of the cut of the top 51. We will need 17.5 versus the cap, which leaves 9.1 in cap room for the Las Vegas Raiders. We currently have, and this was a couple days ago, but they currently had, before all the UDFAs, 77 players total. Lackey Tassie does not count. Where do you expect us to draft a wide receiver with $9 million left in the cap for the whole entire season? If anything happens, we're screwed, and then we're under the cap. The Raiders can't afford to. They're going to cut a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be off these books. The numbers are going to go up a little bit, but the Raiders can't afford to get a wide receiver, and I don't believe there is any need for a wide receiver because I'm going to tell you why. I believe in this young group. I believe in these kids can develop. Some of them have been developing. Some of them have been here for a while. Some of them will be pushed by the guys behind them. Some of them have a chip on their shoulder, and I feel like with the receivers we have no money to waste. We don't have time for guys to develop like Dante Thornton and Um, other guys on the list that still are way off of where they should be, whether it's Brendan Rice or Cedric Jackson, right? I don't know where they feel about these guys or where they have them listed, but I do feel like you rung what you brung, right? In racing, there's an old term, rung what you brung. That means you race with what you pull up with, right? These are the guys we got. I say we go with the guys we got at least till free agency. I mean, at least till the preseason. And then when the preseason comes, if we're having problems and we're looking at this team, because this is the big part. If you're looking at this team and going, damn, if they just had an X receiver that could stretch the field and catch the ball, this team is a contender. Then yes, you go out and you get your guy. But if you're looking at this team in preseason going, damn, they're going to take some lumps early. This offensive line ain't what we quite where we thought it was going to be, right? This receiver group is okay, but the offensive line's not allowing this quarterback to give him time, right? Kirk Cousins ain't the guy, and we got to put in Aiden O'Connell, right? Because Mendoza's not ready. Or Mendoza comes in, and he's not the guy we think he's going to be because the rest of the team is not where they need to be to put a quarterback in that place and get better like the rest of the teams I talked about early, right? So I feel like you go into preseason, and if there's a problem where everything looks good, the defense is good, they're making plays, right? And you have everything but an X receiver, then go get one. But if that's not the case, you stick with what we got till next year. Rome wasn't built in a day, and the Las Vegas Raiders are maybe farther off than we think to making a run, but they may be a lot closer than we think to making a run. So let's see what we got in preseason. Let's see where we go, where, and who does what. That sounds like a former linebacker. Alec M in the building. Appreciate you for the prayers. I think he was a punter. Chase Roberts is a good player too. Yeah, I really like Chase Roberts. D Money, appreciate you, my guy, for the $5 holla. Means the world, man. I appreciate you. Devin Perkins looks solid. Not much film. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets Isaiah Palomala's job. Whoo! For sure. True competition. You know, I would say this. I will say this. I like that comment, and that's a hot take, D Money. If you're looking what I just said, right, of where our roster's at, we're at $9.1 million. I wouldn't be surprised if one Isaiah Palomao three regimes ago, right? Wasn't that a Josh McDaniels and a Dave Ziegler pick, right? It's a guy that basically only plays in the box, but now we got guys like Dalton Johnson who can play in the box. We got guys like um who the hell we just trade for? Jerron Johnson. We also have, yeah, we got plenty of guys that can play in the box, that can play that Jeremy Chin backup, that can play, strong safety and free safety, that can play corner, that can play the nickel, right? So I believe we have those guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if Isaiah Palomao, just because the Raiders can't go into the season with only $9 million on the books. So I believe the highest paid guys that are going to contribute the less are, guys that we have behind them ready to take their job that we think can contribute the same or better at a lower price. Look for those guys to be gone. AOC might be gone. And Robert Sawyer might make the third quarterback or practice squad. Like I said, I haven't seen Sawyer Roberts out there. So Daniel Berry Sports was good. Appreciate you. Happy Saturday. But I just don't see any value of getting rid of AOC unless it was just like I talked about. I think he's due making 3 point something million dollars this season. If they cut him just to save that money because they don't have the money going to next year, then I can see that. But I can't see getting rid of Aiden O'Connell when you have a Mendoza that says himself he's not ready to play yet, has a lot to learn. The Raiders have said he has a lot to learn. Kirk Cousins has not shown he can stay healthy in the last 3 years. Do you really get rid of AOC? Kirk Cousins get hurt and you have to throw Mendoza to the wolves and you ruin his career because you got rid of Aiden O'Connell? To me, that is stupidity. Makes no sense whatsoever. But the Raiders have done dumber things in the past. I'm so excited about this year. Let's go. What? Jada is a good tackle from BYU. Yes, Rosetown in the building. Has very good footwork, good hands, good movement. You know, he's quick enough where he can block his man and then pass that guy off and get to the guy. You know, turn and twist, get to the guy on the outside. So yeah, I think Jada. You know, hopefully he pushes that right side. Right, I think the left side is solid. Um, did not hear the Sawyer Robinson situation. Yeah, so he has nobody knows what the hell's going on. So that's up with that. Mini can't invite is Rocket number 9 was out there. I don't think that was Sawyer. I could be wrong, but again, all the people that I know that I follow that were at camp that post stuff at camp said they didn't see a Sawyer Robinson. So still trying to figure out what's going on with that situation. My guy Nathan says go donkeys. Come on, man. You're in the wrong channel for that, my brother. But appreciate you pulling up. Um, it's true that the Raiders invited Ray McLeod. I didn't hear nothing about that. I will do some research and let you know. Actually, let me find out right now. Let me send a text message. I think they did. I think I heard something about Ray Ray's name. Hold on. Let me find out. Um, I want to say I heard something about that. Um, so I got a not that I know of. So, um, I don't know, but wasn't he just released from the Falcons? Right? Is it the Falcons? Yeah, I don't know. I thought he was released and signed though. For some reason, I want to say he was released and picked up right away. Best of luck to the participants on the players for making the Raiders roster. Yeah, it's gonna be a battle, man. It's gonna be a battle, and I feel like there's a lot of guys that are gonna be taking jobs. A lot of guys gonna be taking jobs. That sounds scarier than last season. um, Traycon Jones. We got Stooks as well. Stooks is starting. I really feel like he's a starter. I just don't see how anybody beats him out, really, in my opinion. Ernest, my guy, what's good? It's been a minute. Fernando better be at camp on May 11th. You can go see the president 2019 and win a Super Bowl. I love it, my brother. I love it. And he said it himself, right? Fernando's that leader, dude. He was invited to the White House and he said, I'd rather be here with my teammates, right? If it wasn't the first day of camp, that's where he would be in the White House. But he said more than likely, if it's a practice day, he's going to be there with his teammates. It doesn't look good on him being the bottom of the totem pole, trying to gain respect in the building to being in the White House with a team he won a championship with, which to me that sounds crazy, bro. You only get you only get too many chances to win a Super Bowl or to go to the White House from winning a national championship. You only get that opportunity once, as a senior. So, I think the Raiders should be like, bro, we'll give you a pass. Go celebrate with your team. The last time you get to celebrate with all your teammates, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of team players from other teams that are gonna go. So if he doesn't go, shout out to him for being a true team player. Shout out for the $2 holla, Faded Raider. I appreciate y'all. Y'all are smoking today. Sawyer Robinson did not officially sign a contract, but was a tryout. So
So from what I heard was he got a tryout, but that was it. So, which I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. And I asked the question, you know, how did so they just tried him out and he didn't work because I thought he did pretty damn good throughout the college year last year. I thought he looked really good, and looked like he took, some huge steps in the offseason before he got on the John Gruden show, right? He had great accuracy, big tall guy, could stand in the pocket, looked like he had a thick body on him, right? Can take hits, absorb hits. Um, was great at recollecting the information that coach was giving him. So I don't know. I don't know what's up with Sawyer Robinson, but I feel like they, for some reason, there's something going on because I don't think they worked him out and said, no, you're not what we're looking for. Unless they worked him out and was like, no, if we bring you in, you're going to beat out Aiden O'Connell, and we would rather have a guy that has experience. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they just like, damn, you were a lot better and more ahead than we thought, and we're gonna, we need the experience. I don't know what's going on there. Doesn't make sense to me though. So was it a try, and then the coaches are like, "You're out." I mean, that's what it sounded like. But like I said, I find it hard to believe that unless it was just a character thing or something went wrong, because he's definitely good enough to come in and try out and compete with these guys in camp and see what he's got. I feel like top passing yards as well. I mean, he was accurate as hell. He has good accuracy. If he was on a better team, as a May 2022, 9-year veteran wide receiver, a specialist Raymond McLeod is reporting to attend the Las Vegas rookie mini camp as a tryout player. Okay, I heard he was picked up by the Falcons, but I don't know. Well, that's cool if he is. And you heard Spytech, right? Spytech said no matter who we have on the roster, no matter what our record is, no matter who our coaches are, we're always going to try to prove the roster, right? So I wouldn't put it past the Raiders bringing in a Ray McLeod. I wouldn't put it past them one bit. He was top 7 in passing yards. I mean, that's pretty good numbers. That's pretty good numbers. That's not Aiden O'Connell numbers, at Purdue, but it's all right, though. All right, man. Mendoza was top 15 in passing. Yeah, yeah. And, I see all the comparisons. Um, my guy ECG put out a thing on X also between the number of times Mendoza threw and the number of times Ty Simpson threw at Alabama. I don't think any of that means shit. The reason Ty Simpson threw so much is because he didn't have a damn running game and they didn't have a defense. So the other team scored a lot and then they got thrown out on the field, right? So, I mean, the defense was okay, but it wasn't great. They had absolutely no run game. Their offensive line was up and down. So, yeah, you're going to have more passes. And, the numbers were pretty close with having more passing attempts. I think the accuracy completion percentage was pretty damn close. Having a lot more throws, that says a lot. But to me, none of that shit matters. What matters to me is Mendoza is the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Mendoza is the future, and we'll see in 4 years We'll compare numbers because that's what I do on this channel, right? And anytime I get a new quarterback, I'm comparing them to guys drafted in the first round. I've done it with Aiden O'Connell. Every quarterback that shit for the last 15 years, it didn't matter that he was better than 99% of them. He's still a backup. But yeah, so we'll look at the numbers and at the end of the year if he plays, at next year if they plays. But Ty Simpson more than likely is sitting for 2 years. So I think he's got a leg up on Mendoza because Mendoza, I don't feel sits for 2 years. He's gonna have to come in the fire eventually. Maybe the fire won't be so hot, right? Maybe it'll be like a lukewarm bathtub because the team will be developed. The offensive line will be have a little bit more chemistry. The running game will be good. We'll know who our receivers are, and the defense will be a top 15 defense. And then you can just take out Kirk Cousins and bring in Fernando. I don't know if that happens. Maybe Kirk Cousins comes in and revives Minnesota like he revived Minnesota. Maybe he does the same thing like he did for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know. But I do know. I've been out here a long time. I appreciate everyone. I love y'all. Stay blessed. Stay true to yourself. Take care of your loved ones, friends, and family. And always, always, just go Raiders, baby. Raiders. Peace. And Cody Grease. Much love. I'm out.